I am Matt Gunter, Bishop of the Diocese of Fond du Lac, the Episcopal Church in Northeast Wisconsin. I have encouraged the people of the Diocese of Fond du Lac to adopt a rule of life, a method of entering more deeply into our life with God. And I have been reviewing that rule of life in this series of videos. We've looked at worshiping in community, at prayer, at fasting, and at keeping Sabbath. The fifth and last part of the rule of life that I have suggested is a daily examination. And that is at some point during the day to review the last 24 hours and take stock of how you have done. If you've ever played in organized sports, perhaps you have spent time in the film review room going over the plays of the last game in football, for example. I remember in high school sitting on Mondays going over the game that we played on Friday or Saturday and having the coach point out things that went well, things that did not go so well, and then showing us how to do better. The daily examination is rather like that going over the film after a game. And classically, there are some parts to an examination that I'd like to suggest. First of all, find a good and quiet place where you can sit and be still. And begin by just being still. Collect yourself. Collect your thoughts. Remember that God is present. Remember that there is nothing you can do to make God love you more. There is nothing you can do to make God love you less. God's mercy and delight are there. There are things that we can do, or not do, that get in the way of our receiving God's love and experiencing it more fully. And that's one reason we do the examination, so that we can look at those things that are getting in the way so that we can enter more fully into God's mercy and delight. So begin by being still and resting in the assurance of His mercy and delight. And then take some moments to look over the last day, evening being a traditional time to do this review, but you can do it at any time if you want to review the last 24 hours. But give thanks for things that have happened in that period that gave you joy. It might be little things like the smell of coffee brewing in the morning, the smile of a loved one, a kind word or act from a stranger, a project completed and done well, the feel of summer breeze, a sunset, a rainbow, whatever it is that gives you joy. Think back on the things of the last day that have given you joy and give thanks to God for each one. And once you have given thanks for what you have experienced that has given you joy, review the last 24 hours and ask yourself, where have you seen God's mercy and delight? Where have you shared God's mercy with those around you? Where have you delighted in those you have met? And perhaps, where have you missed opportunities to share God's mercy? Where have you missed opportunities to delight in the other person? One thing you might do is go to Galatians 5 and review the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, etc. And ask yourself, how have I done in expressing those fruit in my life over the last 24 hours? Where you can look back and say, there is a place where I did extend God's mercy. There is a place where I did delight in another person. Give thanks. Rejoice. And in those places where you missed opportunities to share God's mercy, perhaps where you are unmerciful, or those places where you did not delight in the person God put in your path, those times when you did not share love or joy or peace or kindness or gentleness. And where you see those places where you fell short, confess them to the Lord. Offer up to the Lord that failure, knowing that God desires to receive that failure and transform it and to transform you. And then commit yourself to doing better. After you have reviewed the day and given thanks for where you were successful and confessed where you were less successful, look forward to the next day and recommit yourself to being the presence of God's mercy and delight in the world around you. Commit yourself to being open in the next day to God's mercy and delight. Commit yourself to being a channel of that mercy and delight to the world. And remember that God's mercy and delight is ever there, not to be earned, but to be received and shared. Thank you, and God bless.